Hello my friends. My name is Bot Mathematician and this is Hello Sir.
Also, Chief Investigative Reporter Dora joined us this evening.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Blizzard has introduced the second major balance patch for the Festival of Legends expansion. Some cards received minor buffs and nerfs, but some tools were completely killed.
Today, using our utility ratio algorithm, we will explore how these changes affected the numerical value of card power. Our approach is based on the core rules of Hearthstone. We divided each card into different components, and determined the nominal cost for each of them according to the classic patterns. Then we define a minimum value that represents a scenario of unsuccessful or incomplete implementation of the effect and a maximum value that represents the case of a complete implementation of the effect. The negative and positive scenarios of using the card allow us to determine the average nominal value. In turn, the utility ratio indicator is the ratio of the average nominal value to the actual mana cost.
As we already know, the base utility ratio for classic cards is 1. Which means that the card's effect's nominal value is exactly the same as the actual mana cost. For modern cards, the balanced utility ratio is 2, which in turn means the card's effect is twice as strong as the base game standard.
Dear friends, you can learn more about this method and the constant patterns of Hearthstone in a special video.
We hope that you are familiar with the nuances of our method, so we will comment only on those cards, the testing process of which has some peculiarities.
Guys, I can't wait to see the results of your test.
Battlefield Necromancer is a Nora creator card, which means you can potentially benefit over multiple turns. Let's assume that in the worst case you fail to activate the effect. In this case, the minimum value will be less than 2 mana crystals. Let's say that under the best circumstances you activate the effect 3 times. In this case, the maximum value will be 11 mana, but this is not the limit. After the nerf, under the same conditions, the card became 7% weaker. Despite this, the difficulty of getting maximum value increased. Changing the amount of life makes the process of summoning creatures over several turns much more difficult. But the card is still very good.
Blizzard continues to improve the riff and roll strategy, which still performs horribly. In its original form, Chorus Riff, like the rest of the cards with this mechanic, was well balanced, but this is definitely not enough to make the strategy work quite well. In these calculations, we assume that in the best case you can repeat the same riff. After the nerf, the utility ratio increased to 2.7. Fellscale Evoker is an improved version of Carrier Fellsoul. Not surprisingly, this card has created problems. By fulfilling fairly simple conditions, you can summon an additional demon from the deck. Summoning a creature or casting a spell from the deck has an additional value. It's like drawing a card and playing it for free. Let's assume you summon Brutal Annihilant. The overall result is not that impressive due to a condition that can prevent the effect from activating and summoning the not-so-best demon. Despite this, the Fellscale Evoker was the main win condition for the big demon hunter. After the loss of stats, the utility ratio has not changed much, which leaves hope that the big archetype will remain competitive.
In my opinion, the developers killed the predation spell. The card retained only 30% of its former power. 2 damage for 2 mana is too weak, but even the free cast doesn't look promising.
Scribbling Stenographer is another tool that can be played for free. Traditionally, cards with this effect cause problems in competitive play because they are capable of making very strong turns. As a rule, such tools are an important part of the strongest strategies and for this reason they often become targets for nerfs. We plan to dedicate a special video to this type of card in the near future.
Demolition Renovator allows you to destroy a location, which is an extremely useless effect. The problem is that almost all locations have only 2 durability. In addition to this, their cost is usually very low. This means that most likely you will not be able to deprive your opponent of significant advantages. The additional tradable effect made the card 10% stronger, but it's still a very weak card.
Sinful Brand deserves special attention. This card has a crazy effect and has been nerfed for the second time, which in our opinion almost completely killed this effect. The feature of the card is its infinite value. This means that in combination with other cards and under certain circumstances, you can get an almost limitless advantage. This tool was the most important win condition for the spell Demon Hunter decks. Let's look at a specific scenario. Imagine that you marked a creature with 5 hit points. After the nerf, dealing 1 damage at a time, you are able to deal only 5 damage to your opponent hero. The nominal value of this damage is extremely difficult to determine, since there are too few spells in the game that are limited only to your opponent's face. By classical standards, this would be equivalent to using Mind Blast with 2.5 nominal cost. If you think of this combo in terms of spells that deal damage to any target, then it would be equivalent to taking Fireball. For these calculations, we decided to take the average between these two approaches. Of course, the spell is still capable of doing more damage, but the benefit no longer looks attractive. The nerf made the card twice as weak. Symphony of Sins is an extremely interesting tool. The effect of the card is very similar to that of Cthulhu the Shattered. Now for 5 mana you have the ability to cast one of 7 spells, some of which are extremely powerful. In general, the average nominal value of each spell is over 8 mana. You will also shuffle 6 other spells into the deck that you can use in a delayed perspective. Even though the card is very popular for most Warlock archetypes, the main problem is that the first cast has a good but not impressive utility ratio for the legendary card. The nerf fixed this situation a bit.
High Cultist Basilev is a board generation tool. The card has a situational effect, and brings a different amount of value in each battle. Let's imagine that you can only resurrect 2 creatures, which will not be difficult to do. But in most matches, you can revive significantly more minions. The cost change made the card 20% weaker than before in this scenario.
Blightfang has a delayed value. Your benefit depends on the number of enemy creatures. In the worst case, you won't be able to activate the effect, while in the best case, you can infect 7 enemy creatures and thus summon 7 taunts. This scenario is extremely difficult to implement, but even if you summon fewer creatures, your utility ratio will be extremely high. The increase in cost has significantly reduced the power of the card, but the card still has a fairly high utility. Enubricon is the most difficult card for our algorithm. Based on the traditional ways of playing, the effect does not look impressive. You can get armor or turn armor into a summoning resource. By classical standards, summoning has more value than gaining extra hit points. But, if we talk about this card in terms of combo potential, then we will find a huge space to overcome the mana limit. Let's imagine that during the match you manage to get and keep 15 armor. The effect of the card after the nerf will allow you to get 5 more units. Thus, on turn 8, you will get a body and 20 mana to implement a combination, the nominal value of which will easily go far beyond our calculations. The nerf had little impact on the utility ratio, but it increased the difficulty level of getting maximum value. Now the player is forced to be more careful about the indicator of his armor throughout the match in order to maintain the possibility of making a combo.
Based on the test results, we can conclude that the Demon Hunter archetypes received the greatest damage. Druid strategies based on Enubricon have become slightly more balanced. The same goes for Undead Priest. A few of the Death Knight's tools have become slightly less powerful, but still have great potential. Warrior got the most buffs again. Will this be enough for the class to regain its competitive edge? The most promising buff, in my opinion, was received by Symphony of Sins. The card is an extremely popular tool in most Warlock decks. Now the initial casting of the spell will bring more value. All other buffs look completely useless.
That's right, Dora. But I want to draw attention to one important nuance. Paladin has not received any nerfs, and will most likely continue to dominate the metagame.
Dear friends, what do you think about these buffs and nerfs? Does the balance change have enough impact on the metagame?
Share your thoughts in the comments and join the polls in the community tab.
Finally, we want to express our boundless gratitude to our sponsors. Dear friends, your support is invaluable. Many thanks to each of you.
We also want to welcome new subscribers to our Mathematician Squad. Unfortunately, for technical reasons, we only see nicknames of public subscribers who did not hide the subscription section on their channel, but we are grateful to everyone for joining.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for spending this time with us. We really hope that we will have the opportunity to get in touch in the next video.
Take care of yourself.
And never give up.
Job's done.